As I've mentioned, we record on Fridays. So it was last night that we celebrated graduation here. It was just lovely. I know I felt what most of the kids told me they felt: happy and sad. They will miss each other, which is sweet. I'll miss them too. And just time. And I do feel protective of them. And they know they have a home here they can always come to that loves them. Blessings on all the graduates and all who love them. This weekend, we celebrate Pentecost, that great outpouring of the Holy Spirit all over the world and in each heart. Now, at Most Sacred Heart, we use the Feast of Pentecost every year to bless our hayfields for what we call the Growing Project. There's fields behind the church and school, which are up there, and behind the rectory, which is here. Beautiful hay fields. We bale that hay, use that money, plus the money we take from a collection, to buy fertilizer and seed, and twin with a local farmer who donates land and his time. And all the profit from the hay that is grown there goes to what's the Growing Project. And we're twinning with a ministry in Peru, a parishioner of ours, Linda Bergman, and she would tell you, not young, but when she was hiking in Peru, saw the poverty of these folks and fell in love with them and developed what's called kindness in a box. She was on Oprah, which I think is kind of cool. Well, this money we raise from the blessings of our fields and that whole process helps teach indigenous farmers how to farm and sustain their lives. And so it's a beautiful thing. So it's just one of the ways that we let the Pentecost light that's been given us shine for the world as a parish. And we each do that in many, many ways. Again, thanks for joining us. I hope you find blessing in this homily. My cousin Mickey has always been delightfully honest. I still remember what she told me when, years ago, she and her husband Mike found out that they were expecting their first child. Now, of course, when people find out they're expecting for the first time, usually there are a number of emotions. Mickey told me that among the things that she worried about was this. She was worried that one day, when her child was born, she might resent him or her. Mickey genuinely wondered whether or not there would be enough love in her heart for a child to be welcomed into their family. Well, she was delighted to find that from the moment of her birth to this very day, Mickey had more than enough love. I mean, she loves her daughter with all her heart. And as true of many parents, she was even surprised by how much she loved this child and almost overwhelmed by that sometimes. Then she and her husband found they were expecting a second child. Now, as I've heard from many parents, she now had a new question, right? She wondered whether or not there would be enough love inside of her to love her next child as much as she loved the first. It's a wonderment I've seen in many moms and dads. I love my first child so much. How could I possibly love another child as much? Yeah, it is my cousin Mickey and her husband Mike and countless others have found. When they had another child, their love for their first child was in no way diminished, and they loved their second child just as much as they loved their first. And so with the next child, and the next child, and the next child, and the next child. They were prolific, it turns out. Where did all that love come from in them? I mean, how could that be? I suggest that Mickey experienced the gift of the Feast of Pentecost we celebrate today in her own heart. That was one manifestation of what the Holy Spirit does. That is also what the Holy Spirit is. The limitless love that one could always draw upon. It's part of us and more than us. And that love that Mickey found in here, and the love that all moms and dads feel in their hearts, is not just what God is like. It actually is God in them. I'll say that again. That love that she found in here was not just what God was like. It actually is God in her. It's no less than the Holy Spirit, that same Spirit that raised Jesus from the dead in her and her husband's heart. And this Holy Spirit has been given to each of us. As St. Paul says today, to each person, the manifestation of the Spirit has been given. It's for the good of all. If I may, this one personal moment. I was at a meeting the other day, and for a bit my mind drifted to a conversation I'd very recently had with a dad and his 7 or 8 year old son. I was worried about this kid. I think he's in a tough spot, and I hated that there was only so much that I could do to help him and to protect him. And then I heard this in my heart. Now, whenever I try to describe a spiritual experience or moment, my words seem so futile to me, so insufficient, almost silly sounding, but it was like I heard the Holy Spirit in my own voice saying inside of myself to the kid, words I wasn't in a position to say out loud, and the kid wasn't even there in the moment when I felt this, but I heard the Holy Spirit say inside of me, in my own voice to the kid, I love you with more than myself. It makes me almost teary-eyed to remember that. It was the Holy Spirit in me, I believe, that love for that kid I found, that I was loving him with more than just me. So you. Unfortunately, you and I can walk through much, if not most of our lives, unaware of the limitless gift that's always in us and a part of us. We're tempted then to approach life and love with kind of this scarcity mentality, right? There is only so much to go around, you know. It's as if life were a pizza, I would suggest, right? You know, the more she has, the less there is for me. And then if he has some, and they have some, and slowly I worry that there's just not going to be enough to go around. There becomes for each of us a certain level of jealousy and competition. We don't very much like to sometimes at least, to really share our affirmation, our kindness. Well, maybe we like that, but it kind of bothers us a bit when someone else is honored or cheered on or celebrated. Less for me, right? What if love was less like the limited number of pieces of pizza and more like the flame of Pentecost? Notice what happens to a flame when its light is shared. Its brightness is in no way diminished. There's just more light for this world. My brothers and sisters, we might be hesitant to offer compassion or forgiveness or kindness in a moment. Might feel a little bit hesitant to hurt for others or jealous if some other person is being honored in some great ways, but wouldn't seem to notice what we've been doing. But as we share the goodness in our hearts and as others receive love, nothing is diminished in us. There's just more light and love in this world. There is in that even more light and love in our own hearts. It expands in the world. It expands in here. I don't even know how to tell you how true that is. And oh yeah, our bodies eventually wear out, just like as you watch our Easter candle in church, it's slowly giving itself away throughout this Easter season, then for baptisms and funerals. It shrinks in size, but its light shines no less brightly. The scriptures today on this great feast of Pentecost recall the outpouring of the Holy Spirit on this ragtag group of followers of Jesus. And after that, they found inside themselves more than they or anyone ever thought possible. My cousin Mickey discovered that was in her all along as well. My friends, again, that same power is in you and me and each of us. Whatever our life's calling, whatever situation we might find ourselves in any given moment, may we remember to draw on that most true and alive part of ourselves, right? On that limitless power in us that is never diminished. There's always enough love in our hearts for what is needed in that very moment and in each that very moment.